The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance will stand and be led in prayer by the Reverend Dr. Henry P. During, Jr., Star of Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church in Triangle, Virginia.
Shall we pray? Almighty God, creator and sustainer of all things, we evoke your presence and guidance as our state lawmakers convene to deliberate, make decisions, and deliver policies that will benefit all citizens of this great commonwealth. I ask your blessings upon the task before them today. I pray that you would guide their hearts, their minds, and spirit of compassion, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon the activities of this session that they may reach successful conclusions. We ask these blessings in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. The clerk will call the roll. All those present will please vote aye. Clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Tuesday, February 13, 2018.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communications from the House of Delegates. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
President, I respectfully move that we waive the reading of any communications received from the House of Delegates.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates shall record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. Clerk will report any communication from the governor.
I do have one, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
February the 14th.
Please read it. Senator from James City County. Oh, please read it, Madam
Mr.
Clerk.
President, I was going to suggest that we not waive the reading on the governor's first communication to us.
I thank the senator. Madam Clerk.
February 14, 2018. The Honorable Susan Clark Shar, Clerk, Senate of Virginia, Capitol, 3rd floor. Dear Madam Clerk, I would like to send Valentine's Day wishes to the Senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley. Sincerely, Ralph S. Northam, Governor of Virginia.
I love him. Outstanding. Now comes the time where we welcome visitors and take up any matters for the morning hour. I'd like to begin by calling on the senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Surville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, joining us today for our morning prayer was the Dr. Henry P. During. Dr. During is the pastor at Star Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church in Triangle, Virginia. He's a native of Prince William County, graduate of Garfield High School, along with the senator from Prince William. And also, I'm also speaking on behalf of myself and the senator from Stafford, who's represents the pastor. He graduated from, after Garfield High School, he went on to Hampton University, where he got his BA. He also got his bachelor's from Triangle Bible Institute, a master's from Regent, and a PhD from Southwestern Bible College and Seminary. He's the eighth pastor of Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church. And he's also the principal of Star Bethlehem Christian Academy and the president and faculty member for Triangle Bible Institute. His sermons, you'll see them regularly on WDCA 20 TV in the afternoons. The church that he ministers to dates back to 1877, where it was originally founded under a bush on the Quantico Marine Corps base. And today they're off Fuller Heights Road, Triangle area of my district. And I would hope that, Mr. President, you and the Senate would give Dr. During a warm Senate welcome.
I thank the senator. Would Dr. During please rise in the gallery? Dr. During, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you for that really lovely prayer. Got us off to the right foot here, particularly on Valentine's Day, with a message of hope and love. And we echo the words of the senator from Eastern Fairfax, also on behalf of the senator from Prince William County, senator from King George, and your wonderful church congregation in Triangle, but we know that you live in Stafford. We're grateful for your moral leadership here in Virginia. You're welcome back here anytime. And I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to Reverend Dr. During. Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, Senator.
Well, joining us in the gallery today are several really close friends of mine from Chesterfield. One of them, we have served together in our church ministry, serving our young people many years ago for me. But Brandy Capehart is from Chesterfield, and she also works with our special needs community. And in fact, Ryan Burnett is actually one of my neighbors who lives behind me. And whenever he was much younger and we used to homeschool, we used to have recess together, he and his brother and my kids. And so they're very good friends. So Ryan Burnett, Jonathan Ryder is also here today with Brandy. So, Mr. President, I'd ask you to give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would Brandy Capehart, Ryan Burnett, and Jonathan Ryder please rise in the gallery if you are able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. We echo the kind and generous words of the senator from Chesterfield. We're grateful that you would join us in the Senate. I'm thankful for all the work that you're doing, particularly with those in our special needs community. And it really is a work and labor of love and such an important thing to do here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So we are grateful to you, particularly on this Valentine's Day. And I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to our distinguished guests. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I rise for an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I had an opportunity to visit in my office this morning with a group from ARC of Virginia and the ARC of Harrisonburg and Rockingham County. And I just want to say a couple of words about the ARC of Harrisonburg. They are an organization that promotes and protects human rights of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and they are actively supporting the full inclusion of their participants in their community throughout their lifetime. They offer support programs, a one-stop shop resource center for individuals with developmental disabilities, their caregivers, family members, and providers. They work to help increase knowledge of developmental disabilities, and they also provide social opportunities for their clients and for their families and chances to meet new people and enjoy activities in a safe environment. Mr. President, with us today in the gallery are Heather Denman, an longtime friend, I shouldn't say old friend, but longtime friend from Harrisonburg. Our children went to school together. She is executive director of the ARC of Harrisonburg and Rockingham County, and she's joined by Ken and Sue Utterback of Harrisonburg. And Ken and Sue are going to hustle back to the Valley because they have a 34-year-old son, Stephen, who lives with them. He has intellectual and developmental disabilities. Stephen has been on the Medicaid waiver wait list for 16 years. Ken and Sue are in their 60s, and they're here, and were very effective in sitting down with me, advocating for the future of their son, and I want them to know how hard we're working to try and make sure that we can provide the resources necessary to help this community and help the population who are waiting for these Medicaid waivers. So, Mr. President, I would ask you to extend the warm welcome of the Senate to this group.
I thank the senator. Would our friends from the Arc of Virginia, Harrisonburg, and Rockingham in the gallery please rise if you're able? Thank you so much for joining us here today. We're honored by your presence and your advocacy, and we echo the generous and eloquent words of the senator from Rockingham. We are all grateful for what you do every single day. And Heather, we appreciate you and your friendship with the senator. And Ken and Sue, we want to send our special greetings both to you and to Stephen. So when you see Stephen later today, tell him that all of us here in the Senate, we're asking about him, and we appreciate him very dearly. So thank you all. You're welcome here anytime in the Senate. And I would ask everyone, please, to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to our distinguished guests. Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Mr. President, I rise for an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
As you can see on the desk, we've been joined by our annual Valentine's Day visitor, the spouse of my very lucky desk mate, Senator Edwards. I hope this, for the first time since 1945, Valentine's Day and the beginning of Lent coincide. So I hope that none of my colleagues have given up sweets for Lent. If you haven't, and you will enjoy Mrs. Edwards' beneficence. But if you have, I want you to look at the postcard that's in the basket. You'll see 2 beaming grandparents with 7 great-grandchildren, including Woodrow, who was just born this past May. So, Mr. President, I'd ask that you give our thanks and greetings to Kathy Edwards.
I thank the senator. Would Mrs. Kathy Edwards please rise in the gallery? Thank you so much for joining us here today. I know we all feel very honored that you are here, and also for the tradition that you have carried on for many, many years. You brought a lot of smiles to a lot of faces here today, and it's all we could talk about this morning was your generosity. So thank you. Thank you for everything you do to help Senator Edwards serve so effectively. As a senator, we are grateful to you, to your entire family, your beautiful family here on this postcard. And, of course, you are part of this family and welcome here anytime. So I would ask everyone, please, to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to Mrs. Kathy Edwards. The senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, rise for the purposes of introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, today is an unusual day. We have Valentine's Day, which we are celebrating. It is also Ash Wednesday, which I think is one of the first times that those things have coincided on this particular Wednesday. But, Mr. President, I bring that up because we have somebody in the gallery who has not yet been bequeathed any of these titles, but I think we could very easily say that he deserves to be canonized, he deserves beatification, he deserves sainthood, but we really appreciate his relationship with our clerk, Susan Shar, we have in the audience, Mr. Shar, to oversee and make sure that on today's festivities, all the offices are dedicated appropriately, and each of us have provided the appropriate gifts as we've been advised about the shopping days that have been present. So, Mr. President, if you could ask that the Senate give the warm welcome to Bill Shar as he's here today to watch over the business of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would Mr. Bill Shar please rise in the gallery if you're able? Mr. Shar, thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you also for your family service to the Commonwealth of Virginia. As you all know, we love your wife, Madam Clerk. She is just an extraordinary person, and she raves about you all the time as well. And so it's great to see a couple with so much love and so much dedication to one another and to the Commonwealth of Virginia. We are honored to have you here. You, of course, are a huge part of this family, and you're welcome here anytime. And I know you got reminded of how many shopping days were left along the way, because I know we did every day. So thank you for joining us. I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warm welcome of the Senate to Mr. Bill Scharr. Do any other senators wish to be recognized for purposes of an introduction? Is that pretty good? Okay. Do any senators wish to be recognized to comment on Senator Surville's jacket? Please, a senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Just briefly, Mr. President, my seatmate, the senator from Russell, got it right today, actually raises cattle, and he was going to invite Senator Surville to come down and go by the bulls.
So glad you rose to speak. Seeing no others, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Wednesday, February 14th, 2018. Uncontested calendar, House bills on third reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move all of the House bills on the third reading on the uncontested calendar, which would include all House bills on pages 1 through 6, including House Bill 35 through House Bill 1361, be placed on their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments. Any senator who may desire to remove a House bill from the block should please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall House bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 1 through 6, House Bill 35 through House Bill 1361, be placed upon their final passage in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will read the number of the bills.
House Bill 35, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 188, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
That the substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 326, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 378, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 613, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendment.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
That the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 755, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 840, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 850, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 988, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendment.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
That the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 1008, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendment.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
The committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 1024, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 1212, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendments.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Now I move that the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 1355, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 1360, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 1361, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
The question is, shall the House bills pass in block? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The bills in the block pass.
Regular calendar, House bills on third reading. House Bill 53, a bill relating to persons acquitted by reason of insanity evaluation. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the bill be agreed to. And speaking briefly to the bill,
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, right now, if a person's found not guilty by reason of insanity, the code requires that an evaluation be conducted in order to determine whether the person should be released with or without conditions or should be confined in a facility. Currently, all of these evaluations have to be conducted on an inpatient basis. This bill would simply allow the court to determine whether the evaluation should be conducted inpatient or outpatient.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall House Bill 53 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. House Bill 53 passes.
House Bill 262, a bill relating to protective orders, family abuse, cellular telephone number, or other electronic device. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking briefly to the bill, this
Senator has the floor.
bill is simply intended to prohibit the respondent on a protective order from terminating this cell phone contract of the person who's protected by the protective order.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall House Bill 262 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. House Bill 262 passes.
House Bill 278, a bill relating to compensation of guardian ad litem appointed to represent a child, adjustment by the court. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendments.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, first I move the adoption of the committee amendments.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are adopted. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move the passage of the bill. Mr. President, this bill deals with compensation of guardians ad litem, typically lawyers who are appointed by the court to protect the interests of somebody who is either incapacitated or is too young or too old to protect their own interests. It simply gives the court latitude to adjust the fees that are going to be paid to the guardian ad litem. There's been some concern about whether, about the correlation between the fees that are charged and the services that are actually provided.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall House Bill 278 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. House Bill 278 passes.
House Bill 482, a bill relating to witness testimony accompanied by certified facility dogs. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move the adoption of the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move the passage of the bill. This bill is now, after adoption of the substitute, identical to Senate Bill 420, which was carried by the senator from Hanover, dealing with and permitting the use of courthouse dogs.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise?
I rise very briefly to speak against the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Very briefly. I just make one additional point, and I'm not a fan of this bill to begin with, but I know there's at least one member of this body that's actually a fan of cats, and yet we are making no accommodation to facility cats. So I think it's really just unjustified discrimination. So I ask we defeat the bill.
For what purpose does the senior senator from Loudoun, Senator Black, rise?
Rise to speak against the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I love dogs, I love cats, I love snakes, I love them all. But I worry, we have a requirement that people take the witness stand and that they be sort of out in front of everybody, and that if they're going to lie, people are going to be able to detect it. And I just worry if we give them a dog to hold on to and give them confidence, I'm not sure that we achieve quite the same thing that we were trying to do. Now, years ago, it took quite a debate before we made some special accommodations for children, because there was concern that we might have some problems if we took some of the pressure off children. But I think we made a very good decision. We said, okay, fine, we're going to moderate a little bit when it comes to children having to testify. But frankly, I worry about, how cute is the dog? The jury, I don't want the jury to get focused on, oh, look at that darling dog. He is so cute. Well, what if I can't afford a dog that's as cute as your dog? What if my dog's kind of a scroungy hound? Do you say, what an ugly dog? That guy, he looks sinister. I don't understand the whole idea of having dogs testify along with their owners. So I encourage you to vote against the bill.
Thank the senator very much. Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I was going to yield to the senator from Brunswick, but I didn't know if that would be appropriate or not. Mr. President, what we're talking about here are individuals testifying in court on very serious issues. Mr. President, those individuals testifying may be minor children that have been abused, individuals that have been victims to very serious crimes. And what we've set up is a very structured way to have a dog be there for those most vulnerable individuals to testify. And Mr. President, if members would look at the bill, it indicates that has to be a certified facility dog, meaning one that has been trained and determined to be a facility dog by an accredited organization. And Mr. President, that dog has to be accompanied by a duly trained trainer. Mr. President, additionally, the dog has to not interfere or distract from the proceedings. The judge will make the determination that the dog would not be able to interfere or distract from the proceedings. And Mr. President, in the bill before you, which is a little different than the bill that went out of the Senate, the court even has the ability to specifically direct the jury in reference to the presence of the dog. So, Mr. President, we do a lot of things to ensure that victims have protections. One of the things that we did a number of years ago were put in place two-way video testimony where an individual can testify in another room. This is another way for the court to ensure that the victim is not re-victimized by having to present their horrific story in front of a judge or jury while their accuser stands there glaring at them. Mr. President, with that, I renew the motion that the bill pass.
I thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise?
Hanover, yield for a question.
Will the senator yield?
Mr. President, I yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
I would ask the gentleman, he referenced the House version whereby the court can give the jury an instruction to limit the impact of having the dog in the courtroom. Would he not agree with me by conforming the bill to the Senate version? We're basically voting on the Senate version, not the House version.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I would agree with the gentleman that we are voting on the Senate version. I would advise the gentleman as well that the House is very unlikely to agree with our version, so we'll end up in conference to work these things out.
Thank the senator.
Mr. President, if I could make one more comment
Senator, the floor.
in reference to the gentleman from Loudon, there's no such thing as an ugly dog.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill, rise?
The gentleman rise for a question.
Gentleman from Hanover?
Yes.
Senator from Hanover, rise for a question.
I yield, Mr. President.
He yields. Senator has the floor.
I like a cat. Now, I'm scared of dogs, especially big dogs. Now, what happens if I feel comfort if I had a cat in my arms? Not a black cat, now, 'cause I'm scared of those too. but what about if I had a cat in my arms that I like? So what about that? I mean, if I want to go there and I feel comfort, I would feel comfort if I had my cat and I could rub my cat and I could take my time and talk clearly with the cat in my arms. So what if I would do if I go to court and I say, hey, I want my cat, not a dog? What about that?
Senator, there's the floor.
Mr. President, I advise the gentleman that the bill doesn't deal with ladders or mirrors that might break in the courtroom and only deals with certified facility dogs. And Mr. President, I am not as familiar with cats in the training that they may or may not undergo. But in this particular bill, we've taken what has occurred in multiple jurisdictions already around the Commonwealth, where you have dogs that have been trained. Some of them have been trained for years, that they operate as facility dogs. They have trainers that go in with them to court, and we put in place a structure so when this happens in other jurisdictions, in addition to the ones that's happening in now, that there are a set of parameters that the court has to determine to make sure that juries are not biased, that the dogs are not a distraction, and that they are trained by accredited organizations.
I thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 482? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 482 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 31, noes 9.
Ayes 31, noes 9. House Bill 482 passes.
House Bill 746, a bill relating to wills and revocable trusts, eliminating certain inconsistencies. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move the passage of the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Speaking to that, this is a fascinating bill, much more fascinating than dogs and cats in the courtroom. This is actually brought by one of the most fascinating organizations there is in Virginia, the Wills, Trusts, and Estates section of the Virginia Bar Association. And what this bill does, and hold on to your seat, it simply conforms the inconsistencies that exist between the statutory rules of interpretation of inter vivos trusts and testamentary trusts. So with that, I renew my motion that the bill pass.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds, rise?
I'd like to speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, what this bill actually does is far more interesting and more life-changing potentially than the last bill. This bill undoes several hundred years worth of jurisprudence. To the years of Jefferson, and we take great pride in the fact that our statute of intestacy comes from Jefferson. Well, our case law with respect to the interpretation of wills is as old as Jefferson and even older. And what that case law is governed by is that to look for the construction, the interpretation of a will, you have to look basically at the document itself. You can't introduce extrinsic evidence. This bill changes all of that. And this bill changes all that, and I would suggest that's a pretty dramatic change in the law, and I urge you to think about it before you vote yes.
Thank the senator. Senator from Rock. Are you want to speak? Okay. Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I concur with my friend from Bath County. What this really does is and if you read the bill, It says even if the document is clear and unambiguous, you still could come in and try to prove that that really wasn't the person's intent. And so what we're doing is we're taking away the testator's intent, and I don't know why we would do that. I hope we vote against it.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators? Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the gentleman from King George rise for a question?
Will the senator rise for a question?
I yield.
Yield. Senator has the floor.
As to what the gentleman just stated, would this mean that someone could go into a Twitter account or a Facebook page to devise different intent than what might be claimed in the will and use that as something to alter the court's determination?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, that would be governed by the rules of evidence, and I'm not going to say absolutely yes. But it leaves that possibility open because it allows you to disprove a clear and unambiguous document that was signed by the testator. So subject to the rules of evidence, I certainly think that what the gentleman says is possible.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 746? Seeing none, Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I appreciate the comments by the senator from King George and the senator from Bath. This bill is much more modest than it has been represented. It does not change the course of Western civilization. It does not permit the intent of the testator, the person who signed the will, to be set aside. What it does provide is that the terms of the will can be modified under certain very limited circumstances to correct a mistake, to conform the decedent's intent, but it has to be proved by not just the preponderance of evidence, not just tilting the scales 50.1%, but by clear and convincing evidence. And, Mr. President, I would suggest that this is already the rule with respect to inter vivos trusts, which means trusts that are set up independent of wills. This simply conforms the practice with respect to trusts that are set up in a will.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose does Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise, speak in favor of the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, if you have a contract in which there is a mistake of fact, which both parties labor under, you can reform that contract to meet the party's intent. That's been the common law for years. Let me give you an example. Let's say you had a testator that made a will under the impression that one of his children had died, and that child is found alive. You could then reform the will to take into account that child where previously you could not. So basically, again, the ability to reform a contract has always been recognized at the common law where there is a mutual mistake of fact. This would simply marry up with that. Thank you.
Thank the senator. If any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 746? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 746 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 18.
Ayes 22, noes 18. House Bill 746 passes.
House Bill 754, a bill relating to elective share claim calculation of the augmented state, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I'm not sure I want to try another one. Mr. President, I move that the bill pass.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, what this bill does is it simply provides that a surviving spouse who's claiming an elective share, which means that if the surviving spouse is omitted in a will, and that surviving spouse claims the share that the statute allows from their deceased spouse's estate, that the surviving spouse does not have a right to claim a share of the decedent's separate property at death, but that the decedent's spouse may satisfy the surviving spouse's right to claim a share of the marital property with such separate property. Now, my recollection is that what this provides is that if the survivor has been gifted money before the death or property before the death, that is used to satisfy the elective share of that surviving spouse's right, so that it would qualify as part of their elective share.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from King George, Senator Stewart, rise?
Mr. President, I reluctantly rise to speak against this one as well.
Senator has the floor.
And so I'm not the lawyer that the senator from Rockingham is, and I don't pretend to be, but the way I read this bill and what I recall from committee was, if you give your spouse a gift, you die, and the spouse then elects to share the augmented estate, the gift I gave my spouse is counted towards that election. And to me, that's unfair. If I give someone something and then I die, the lawyers are going to count that gift against what that spouse gets to claim from my estate. And I don't think that's what any of us would intend. So I hope we vote against this one as well. But this time, 21 against it.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Bath, Senator Deeds, rise?
Mr. President, I rise to join my brother from King William.
The senator has the floor.
King George, I apologize. I apologize.
Not very close, brothers. Right?
The
senator has the
traveling
floor.
Senator. What I have told clients for years is that you can cut anyone out of your will except your spouse. And you can cut your spouse out of your will, but they can get 1/3 simply by making an election. What this statute says is, no, you can't, because everything you got beforehand is going to count against that 1/3. This bill, again, changes the law in a very dramatic fashion, and I hope you will think about this bill, but I hope you will vote no on this one.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 754? Seeing none, Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I would respectfully submit that this isn't as groundbreaking as has been suggested. You remember, this is somebody who has been cut out of a will, who the decedent has decided, I'm not going to include in the will. And this simply provides that in calculating the augmented estate of the surviving spouse, that qualifying gifts that were made to that surviving spouse before the death of the decedent will be counted. And again, this is a recommendation of the Trusts, Wills, and Estates section of the Virginia Bar Association.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall House Bill 754 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 6, noes 34.
Ayes 6, noes 34. House Bill 754 fails.
House Bill 1015, a bill relating to multi-jurisdiction grand jury investigations, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President.
Senator from Kings Court, Senator Stewart.
Before the gentleman takes this up, could I ask this go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 1015 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1266, a bill relating to report of arrest, fingerprints, trespass, disorderly conduct, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Let me try this one, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. This, Mr. President, is a crime commission bill. It's identical to Senate Bill 566, which I happen to carry, passed out of this chamber earlier. What this bill requires is that it requires the collection of fingerprints for the only two arrestable misdemeanor offenses for which we don't collect fingerprints. Earlier in the session, we passed out a bill that provided that DNA was going to be collected for a variety of misdemeanor offenses, and in the course of the Crime Commission's examination, it was determined that a couple of these misdemeanors for which we're going to be collecting DNA don't require fingerprints, and that anomaly is one that the Crime Commission recommended that we correct. So what this bill does is it simply requires the collection of fingerprints for these two arrestable offenses.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1266? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1266 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 5, Rule 36-1.
Ayes 34, noes 5, Rule 36-1. House Bill 1266 passes. Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Mr. President, having voted on the prevailing side by which we decided House Bill 754, I move that it be reconsidered.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 754 failed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, just so I'm going to have something to talk about tomorrow, I'm going to ask this bill to go by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 754 will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on second reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I'd like to pull out of the block all of the trust and estates bills so we can continue. On a more serious note, Mr. President, I would now move that all of the House bills on the second reading on both the uncontested and regular calendar, including all bills on pages 9 through 16, including House Bill 164 through House Bill 909, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the second constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with, sir.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 9 through 16, House Bill 164 through House Bill 909 be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I would now move that all the bills be passed by for the day, sir.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on third reading be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the rules be suspended and H.J.R. 188 be taken up for immediate consideration.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and H.J.R. 188 be taken up for immediate consideration? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The rules are suspended to take up the resolution for immediate consideration. The clerk will please read the title.
House Joint Resolution number 188, commending Michelle Cottrell Williams.
Question is, shall the resolution be agreed to? All in favor of the motion or agreeing to the resolution will say aye. Those opposed, no. The resolution is agreed to. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Madam Clerk, are we through today?
We are, Senator.
PTL.
Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Surville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, when I was first elected to the lesser body down the hall, I was lucky enough to have the Mount Vernon mansion within my district. Unfortunately, the 2011 redistricting took it out of my seat, although I still had the pleasure of representing a lot of the territory. And then when I was elected to this body, I found that the 36th Senate District also did not include the mansion, although the senator from Alexandria is lucky to have that, although some people would say that Senator Poehler and I were kind of like Bruce Willis in The Sixth Sense, sort of walking around dead and not knowing it, thinking we still had the mansion when we don't, thinking we represent Mount Vernon when we don't. But given today's a special day, it's Valentine's Day, I got an email from the Mount Vernon estate yesterday talking about George Washington's dating advice. And I thought, given the great Virginian that he is, being in our rotunda down there, I would just sort of share a few of these quips with everybody. And also just to highlight how the wisdom that General Washington gave to his stepdaughters, Nellie and Eliza, is actually very reflected in our contemporary culture today. So, first of all, George Washington wrote to Nellie, when the fire is beginning to kindle and your heart is growing warm, propound these questions to it. Is he a man of good character, a man of sense? What has been his walk in life? Is he a gambler or a spendthrift or a drunkard? And we hear about that in contemporary culture. Johnny Cash. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes open all the time. I keep the ends out for the ties that bind. Because you're mine, I walk the line. You hear it reflected today. So then, the next thing General Washington says to your friends like him, he says, is he the one to whom your friends can have no reasonable objection? And when I read that, the only thing I could think of was the Spice Girls. You know how that goes? The song Wannabe. If you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends. Make it last forever. Friendship never ends. If you want to be my lover, you've got to give. Taking is too easy, but that's the way it is. And then Scary Spice says, yo, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really want. I want a ha, want a ha, want a ha, want a ha. What I really want is a zigga zigga. You know, just like George Washington, right? So the next line, he says, have you sufficiently concluded that his affections are engaged by you? You know, Drake had something to say about that. Remember Drake? You used to call me on my cell phone. Late night when you need my love, call me on my cell phone. Late night when you need my love. Remember Drake? Yeah. My girls are going to kill me for this. The next one. Are you dating a financial wreck? And so George Washington says, is his fortune sufficient to sustain you in the manner to which you've been accustomed to live? And, you know, that's one I hear all the time. Ry Cooder, that brought back to my memory a song by Ry Cooder. Does anybody know who Ry Cooder is besides me? Okay. He's a blues guy. But he sings a blues song where he says, my father told me on his dying bed, he says, woman, she's going to make it. Yes, she will. Because she's got something that makes a man put that money right in her hand. The very thing that makes her rich makes me poor. So George Washington had it even back then in 1787. And then next, the truth about marriage. This is all about how hard marriage is. Do not then in your contemplation of marriage look for perfect felicity before you consent to wed, nor conceive from the fine tales that the poets and lovers of old have told us of the transports of mutual love, that heaven has taken its abode on earth, nor do not deceive yourself in supposing that only the means by which these are to be obtained is to drink deep of the cup and revel in an ocean of love. That's what George says to Nellie and his other Eliza. And, that reminded me of Rick Astley. Never going to give you up, never going to give you up, never going to let you down, never going to run around and desert you, never going to make you cry, never going to say goodbye, never going to tell a lie and hurt you. And if anybody wants to do a Rickroll this session, let me know. I'd be happy to try and work it into my speech. And then lastly, George Washington even had advice about flirts. Can you believe that? George Washington said, he wrote to his step-granddaughters, it rarely happens otherwise than that a thorough-paced coquette dies in celibacy, as punishment for her attempts to mislead others by encouraging looks, words, or actions, given for no other purpose than to draw men on and to make overtures that they may be rejected. And so I was trying to think of a song that would come up with that. I came up with The Clash. The Clash actually followed George Washington's advice. Darling, you got to let me know. Should I stay or should I go? If you say that you are mine, I'll be here to the end of time. So if you got to let me know, should I stay or should I go? So having said that, Mr. President, I hope the Senate continues to take the advice of our most famous Virginian down the hall. And here on Valentine's Day, we all take these words to heart and perhaps relate them to your daughters, which I will, and I'm sure they'll be very irritated. So thank you, Mr. President.
I'm certain of that. Thank you, Senator. For what purpose is the Senator from Bath? Senator Deeds rise.
Mr. President, on a point of personal privilege,
Senator has the floor.
Though I can't compare with the wit or shine of my friend from Eastern Fairfax. On Friday, we had a discussion about electric power, and I know some things were said about co-ops, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about my co-op story. I've been a member of a co-op my entire life. I do a little work for a co-op, and all of you I know have been to Bath County, because that's where we're proud to host caucus retreats at the Homestead. And on the way there, you get a feeling for what rural really is all about. But when you get there, you know you're going to be comfortable. You know you're going to have hot water and you're going to have air conditioning. And this time of year, you're going to have heat. But not long ago, those things were luxuries in Bath County. Mr. President, my parents, both of whom were born in Bath County, were not born in a world where electricity was an assumed part of life. Although nearby cities like Stanton, Charlottesville, and Roanoke were electrified by the turn of the century, it wasn't until 40 years later, in 1939, that electricity reached my tiny hamlet of Millboro. In 1939, BARC Electric Cooperative connected its first member, my grandfather, Cree Tyree. Now, he was the chairman of the Democratic Committee, and I want you to know that the chairman of the Board of Supervisors House was second, but the chairman of the Democratic Committee was first. Our co-ops brought affordable and reliable electricity to all the places in Virginia where investor-owned utilities, what we were talking about the other day, said it couldn't be done. Mr. President, our co-ops are again stepping up to meet the needs of rural Virginia. My own co-op, BARC, built the first and only community solar project in the Commonwealth in Rockbridge County, and recently completed in Bath County the largest public school solar project in the state, and is currently building high-speed fiber optic internet throughout its territory, making fiber to the home service available to rural residents the same way it made electricity available in 1939. And that's what makes co-ops different, Mr. President. They're more than just a power provider. They're part of the community, striving to improve the quality of life for its customer owners. In addition to being regulated by the State Corporation Commission, each co-op is regulated locally by a board of directors who are members of the co-op and are elected by the other members. You don't have to be an economist to understand that it costs more to serve 6 people per mile than it does to serve 20 people per mile. When you have fewer customers, fewer people to spread the cost over, each person's costs are naturally going to be higher. But if you look closely at the cooperatives' rates, like BARC's, you'll find that they are unbelievably competitive considering the geographic challenges, the terrain, and the customer density. So let's remember this, Mr. President, when we talk about electric rates in co-op territories, let's also remember why co-ops exist in the first place, not only to provide electricity, but to improve the quality of life in the communities they serve. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
For an announcement, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
First, I'd like to thank the senator from Eastern Fairfax for being kind enough to read us lyrics from contemporary music. But the announcement is that I want to let everybody know that the second show of Senator Cosgrove's Valentine Concert of Love will take place at 3:30 p.m. on the 6th floor outside of room 07.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, rise?
Mr. President, can we return to the morning hour?
Without objection, we'll return to the morning hour.
We have in the gallery, I guess they're still here, Viva and Terry Fry from both Bristol and Richmond, Virginia. We'd like to give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator, and I believe we saw them here earlier. I think they had to step out, but hopefully they will see this. And Viva, who we call V, and Terry Fry are really great Virginians, represent rural Virginia in particular incredibly well. And we should, even though they're not here, offer them the warm welcome of the Senate. What purpose is the senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger, rise?
Mr. President, a brief point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I was hesitant to rise now that the senator from Bath has addressed the rural cooperatives, but I had been asked, as well as the senator from Fauquier, to make just a couple brief remarks in support of them after the cooperatives were discussed in relationship to the debate last week on investor-owned utilities. And I just wanted to add, I was hesitant then to get up after the senator from Bath made his remarks, but after the senator from Eastern Fairfax in his somewhat devilish attire wasted 10 minutes of our time, I said, well, why not? I would just add just a couple of things. In fact, I have a neighbor. Well, he's not a neighbor now. He owns property adjacent to me, and some of his family live there, who actually lives in the senator from Eastern Fairfax's district. But he was involved in the establishment of rural cooperatives back in the early days of the cooperatives. They were started about the 1940s. But at that time, and this gentleman's name is Manley Garber, and he has been on the board of directors for an electric co-op for the last 68 years. When he first started and was instrumental in putting together the cooperatives that serve a lot of the Northern Virginia area and the Prince William, Fauquier, and all those areas, the population of Augusta County was 43,000. The population of Fairfax County was 41,000. And the population of Prince William County was 18,000. So a lot has changed over that time. But one thing hasn't changed, Mr. President. The cooperatives are there to serve rural Virginia. They serve a constituency where they have about 7 subscribers per mile. So it's a little different than the urban centers that are supported by the investor-owned utility. So I rise today to commend our electric cooperatives. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Russell, Senator Chafin, rise?
President, I rise for an announcement.
The senator has the floor.
The turn of events and circumstances of today got me to thinking. My seatmate commented that I had a cattle operation. I do, cow beef operation. And one of the things that we do weekly or at least certainly throughout the month is we catch cattle, we pen cattle, we work cattle through our pens. And one of the things that you have to do in order to get the cattle to go through your pens and in order to pen them is to get them to go to the head gate and to put their head through the head gate and to be caught in the head gate. And sometimes the cattle that are a little more learned than other cattle are reluctant to go into that head gate. So I just wanted to announce that I have a job offering to announce at our farm, and the only 2 requirements would be someone willing to work the head gate and willing to wear a red jacket.
I think you found your person. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Seeing none, the clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Wednesday, February 14th, the Committee for Courts of Justice will meet 15 minutes after adjournment in Pocahontas Senate Room A. The Committee on Transportation will meet 15 minutes after adjournment in the Capitol, Senate Room 3. The Finance Subcommittee on Transportation will meet at 4 p.m., 5th floor, Subcommittee Room number 1 in Pocahontas. Senators Wagner, Saslaw, Newman, Carrico, Barker, and Donovan. The Rural Caucus will meet at 5 p.m. in the 5th floor, Subcommittee Room number 2 in Pocahontas. Tomorrow, Thursday, February 15th, the Finance Subcommittee on Capital Outlay and General Government will meet at 8 a.m., 5th floor, Subcommittee Room number 1. Senators Norman, Saslaw, Hanger, Lucas, Ruff, Wagner, McDougall, Vogel, Obenchain, and Dance. The Hampton Roads Caucus will meet at 8 a.m., 5th floor, Subcommittee Room number 3 in Pocahontas. The Committee on Education and Health will meet at 8:30 a.m. in Senate Room A of Pocahontas. The Republican Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in Senate Room 2. The Democratic Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in Senate Room 1. And we are without pages because they're doing their community service project today at Feedmore.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. Do you want to add that we now have 364 shopping days until Valentine's Day?
Sure, why not?
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 12 noon tomorrow.
I thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate adjourn until 12 noon tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The Senate stands adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow.